Welcome to CX&Chill, the real, raw customer experience podcast by Exo Studios, the creative arm of XtendOps. Today's host, Stephanie Todd, is joined by world-famous mentalist Banachek. Listen in as they unravel the mystical ties between captivating audiences and customer experiences, the science behind illusions, mind-blowing tricks, and hanging out with Madonna. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Todd, your host of CX&Chill. Today, we have something completely unique and special for you. We are here with Banachek.
Good to be here.
Yes, and you are going to see, one, how to maybe treat your customers differently by seeing things that you can maybe do from a very different perspective.
That's maybe true.
So maybe give us a little bit about your background.
So let's explain who I am,
Yeah.
right? I'm a mentalist. I have a show in Las Vegas at the Strat. It's six nights a week, dark on Tuesdays. And what is a mentalist, you might ask? A lot of people will mistake it with a psychic, but it's not. Basically, a psychic says they can actually really read minds. A mentalist says he's taken his 5 known senses to create the illusion of a 6th sense. In other words, he uses verbal communication, nonverbal communication, magic tricks, psychology, a mixture of all of these things to make it appear that he has a 6th sense, that he can actually read minds.
Okay, so I'm a little afraid because I don't want you to read my mind because who knows what's in there. But also, when I went to one of your shows and was blown away, you said you don't do tricks because hookers do tricks?
Because hookers and dogs do tricks, yes.
Prostitutes do tricks.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a bad joke.
So this is all demonstrations.
These are demonstrations.
Yes.
Yeah, they're demonstrations. Okay. Yeah. Well, they are tricks in a way, but they're. Here's the problem, right? And I always had this problem when I was trying to sell myself a lot of times, whether I'm trying to sell to a company for trade shows. The moment you mention the word magic or the word trick, they think of like, Uncle Bob who comes to the Christmas party, and they don't hold magic in a high regard. It's not until they've seen a really good magician like David Blaine, Chris Angel, or somebody like that, that now they go, oh, wow, this is what it could actually be. When I used to sell to trade shows, and I was very successful in the trade show market, when I would try to set up a meeting, if I was doing a cold call, I'd say, hey, I can increase your booth flow and product awareness. All I need is 5 minutes of your time. Give me 5 minutes. I'll come to your office. And if you don't want me there after the 5 minutes, I promise you I will leave after 5 minutes. If I said to them, hey, I'm going to use magic in your trade show booth, to create product awareness and booth flow, they wouldn't hire me. They wouldn't even give me the time for an interview. But I would always go in for that interview. And after 5 minutes, they would keep me there because I was able to talk about why I am better than, say, Oprah Winfrey, or why I am better than a caricature artist. Artist sitting there with a line of people. Those people are not being sold to until afterwards, and sometimes they just walk away. Oprah Winfrey, if you have your, let's say you're working, let's say you're Spy Entertainment, right? You're back in the corner at a trade show, and you have Oprah Winfrey there. Everybody's going to go there. They're not going to say, where is she? When they say, where is she? They're not going to say Spy Entertainment. They're going to say she's back in the corner. They remember absolutely nothing about your product, right? My job is during my performances during the trade show was to get as much information as I could from the customer. I had sheets that went out, and I would learn about the customer. I would learn about their product. I would know as much as their salespeople would know. And then I would incorporate that into my performance. So every trick I did was basically talking about the company, not talking about me, but talking about the company. That's creating product awareness. And I was doing shows every 15 minutes. So I would have the floor full of people, 50 to 100 people on the floor, and I'm turning those people over to their salespeople. I'm waiting 10 minutes, and then I'm doing it again. A lot of magicians that worked on the trade show floor, they would just keep doing shows, and they would take breaks during very specific times. I didn't do that because I also knew, let's say there was a politician coming, and he was going to be lecturing at this big conference, right? This big convention. That time's going to be dead. If you're doing shows on the trade show floor, there's no clients to turn over to your people.
Sure.
So I would keep doing my shows, and I would take my breaks when the trade show floor was slow. So I always try to think of a different way than what other people are selling themselves. I did restaurant work. I had 5 restaurants I could work. I could walk in anytime I want to, and I could just do it, and the restaurant would pay me. And I approached it from a different way. Most of them would say, hey, I'm going to increase customers coming in. That's not true. You're not going to do that. You may do that to a little point, but not to the point to where it's going to sustain itself. So I would say, look, you pay me. I won't take tips from your customers. But if the food is slow coming out, they will never know that food is taking that amount of time to come out because I'm performing for them. And I wouldn't take tips because I'd want the waitresses to like me. So if I'm taking tips away from them, they're not going to like me. I would only take tips if somebody was handing me 100 or a 50 or something like that, right, in the restaurant. And because I know that they're going to be able to afford to take care of the waitress. Anyway, I go off on tangents. I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah.
no, I think it's
Yeah.
helpful because
Yeah.
I think it illustrated how people should blend some magic or that unique perspective into their customer experiences because it will wow them in ways that aren't the typical ways, the typical benchmarks.
There are people who even today, I haven't done a trade show for probably about 6-7 years now because I'm in other markets, but there are people that still talk about that. And there are clients that they still have as a result of my performances.
Yeah, I mean, even just going, right? So I went with a group last year and going to it, you're wowed, you're blown away. But as a customer, you have these expectations going into experiences with whether it's an event or, you know, a show or whatever it is, or calling my provider about a credit card, whatever that is. Obviously, there's very, very different levels of excitement for the different times you're contacting or having those experiences. But I think it just shows that when you can create an elevated experience, then word of mouth goes out there and everyone talks about it. It's exciting. We luckily get to have you on the show, things like that, and share it with other people too.
Well, it is a personal experience because let's say, if you have a boring person up there that's just talking about the product, right? Unless you're really looking for something very, very specific, you're not going to remember it. But if I incorporate that, let's say I have you think of 5 of their products. And I can tell you, just by looking at you, what that product is you're thinking of, they're going to remember that for a lifetime. That's an emotional experience they're having. And I'm giving that to them. And now that is attached to the company itself.
Yeah, phenomenal. So part of your background is very interesting, right? I was introduced to you from Mike and, you know, the whole Project Alpha. I watched the documentary. Fascinating. You know, if you want to talk a little bit about your background in that and how you kind of got started.
I have a very eclectic background, so if I go off in too many areas, just rein me back in because I will do
I'll
that.
poke you with one of those forks.
There you go. Perfect. Good. So I was born in England. We came to America. My mom divorced. She went back to England. She took me with her. She remarried. They had 2 kids. We immigrated to South Africa. My mom abandoned me when I was 9 years old with 2 brothers, a year and 3 years old, and an alcoholic stepfather who I never saw except for maybe on Sundays. I left there. I went to Australia to find my biological dad. That didn't quite work out too well. We moved to the United States. While I was in high school, I had 3 jobs just so I could finish high school, and my one sister come stay with me for a while. So that was the beginning of my life. It was pretty, I was all over the place. But it was while I was in South Africa that I picked up a book by, that's not correct. It was while I was in South Africa, there was a gentleman that was coming to South Africa by the name of Uri Geller. Now, some people may know his name. Uri Geller was a psychic who claimed he could bend metal objects with his mind. And he said that he was going to get everybody at home to be able to bend metal objects. He said, all you had to do was get a metal object. So I went around the room and I went around the whole house. I finally found a little needle and a sewing set my mom had left. I thought, surely I could bend this if I could do it. Held it up, concentrated on it. It was Springbok radio, concentrated on it, and I believed it could actually bend. Now, it had bent minutely, I thought, but I believed it had bent. And why wouldn't I want that for my circumstances, right? You know, being brought up the way that I was. And I wanted my brothers to think that was pretty cool as well. And then it wasn't until I actually got to Colorado. We moved from to Australia to Colorado. And it was while I was in Colorado, I picked up a book by James the Amazing Randi. It was called The Truth About Uri Geller. And the truth, as Randy put it, was that this man, this God who could bend metal objects with his mind, was nothing more than a trickster. And I was upset as I was reading the book because I had believed it was real. I believed I had actually done it as well. And I believed it because all the adults around me had believed it. And they were my authority figures, right? And I learned a valuable lesson. Just because a person's in a position of authority doesn't make them an expert. So while I was in high school, I started figuring out ways to bend keys, to bend nails, using tricks, to bend silverware. The kids stole all the silverware from the cafeteria. I got in trouble for that. They went to
Next call from the principal, I'm sure.
Yeah, they went to plastic. Well, I didn't. I was living on my own at that point. So yeah, like I said, I got expelled for a few days for that, and then or suspended, I guess you would say. And then I figured a way to make the school bell go off early, so we could get out of school early. And I told all the kids I was doing it psychically. In reality, I was shorting some wires in the hallway. And then I wrote a book to Randy. Said, if you ever need a kid, a full scientist into believing this stuff is real, I'd be happy to do so. And that led into Project Alpha, which I did with Mike Edwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where we convinced scientists for 4 years we were genuine psychics. And they came after 4 years and explained it was all a hoax.
Yeah. Well, and maybe we can link to one of those documentaries or something in the
Sure.
podcast notes so that people can go and check it out too to learn a little bit more, because it's a long but very fascinating story that we probably don't have time to share today.
Exactly right. That's why I stopped at that point, because there's so much with that, and there are so many reasons we did it during that period of time. Jump forward a few years later. Randy was coming to Houston. He said he was writing an article, I think it was Penthouse magazine, on evangelists. Said, you want to come see this evangelist with me?
And you had a question. You're like, well, Penthouse, I don't know about
Exactly, right? Yeah. Good stories.
All for the articles.
So I went with him, and I saw this evangelist, and he was using what he called the Word of God. He was calling out people's names, initials, telling them he could heal them. He was taking people that were blind and making them see. Kids that couldn't walk, he was helping them walk again. And it was very, very emotional. And I managed to figure out, I'll jump ahead on this, because again, you can look this up online. This is a long, long story in itself, and it's really, really, really interesting in itself. I managed to find out that he had an earpiece that he was using, and they were getting information about these people ahead of time, and his wife was out in a truck, and she was feeding the information. We took it on the Tonight Show, and we put him out of business. It took a couple of years to do it, but we managed to do it. He's back on the air now, but he's no longer using the same tricks he used to use.
Yeah. So do you ever have to worry about him showing up at one of your shows?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
He's back to making a lot of money.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in the he's changed his market, and a lot of those people don't know about his past.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And so you've been on The Tonight Show. You've been on Joe Rogan. You've been on a lot of different shows. You're on stage 6 nights a week.
Well, we should say that part of that is because of something else I do as well. I'm in charge of $1 million foundation, where we have $1 million for any psychic that can demonstrate their abilities on a proper scientific protocol. Nobody's been able to do it yet. And I keep looking and I keep looking, but I haven't found somebody. I'm actually in talks right now with a network on doing $1 million challenge TV show. So we'll see what happens with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I should give you my psychic, but then I'd be sad if you actually
Expose
you
them?
didn't win. Yes.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Like once a year, I live my life by her.
No, don't say that.
I'm teasing. I don't live my life by her, but I
Okay.
think psychics are they're more for entertainment. They probably give some people hope, things like that. But I think it's fascinating how
I do have a bit of a problem, like especially when it comes to mediums. A certain area, I don't go after the little mom and pop psychic who believe that they're real, right? But I do go after a lot of the big ones, especially the big mediums, because I feel like they're scum. I feel they're taking advantage of a person in a very vulnerable moment in their life. People say, well, they make people feel good. And you almost said that about the psychics. They make people feel good. But you know what? You can give crack to a junkie. It's going to make him feel good. Doesn't mean it's good for him.
Yeah.
In the medium aspect, it's basically the grieving process is there for a reason. You have to go through all those stages, and they put a halt to that. I had a very good friend who lost a son at 10 years old of cancer. She had 2 other kids, and she had a husband. And she went to a medium, and the medium convinced her she could talk to her dead son. And so she stopped talking to her husband, stopped talking to her kids. That's the living. That's where she's supposed to be. Yeah. But she was filling that big hole. And you can't blame her for that, right? Yeah. But I can't blame the medium for doing that. She almost lost her husband and her kids as a result. But she came around in the end.
Yeah. So you're going to potentially have a show to prove that there's no such thing as psychics.
No, that's not.
So you're not a psychic for sure.
No, I don't have a show to disprove there's no such thing as psychics. What I am doing is giving them a chance to prove their abilities. Big difference. Somebody could actually win the $1 million. Doesn't mean they're psychic. Somebody could lose the $1 million. Doesn't mean they're not. They're just not that day. My job is to actually go out and try to find a genuine psychic, somebody that can show their abilities under scientific protocol. I cannot say there's no such thing as psychics. What I can say is this. If I sit by the chimney every single year, wait for Santa Claus to come down the chimney all night long and he doesn't come down, more than likely there's no Santa Claus.
Okay, but we have to make sure that kids don't listen to this podcast then, right?
Well, I heard that I could say anything I want, so I'm hoping they don't.
You can say anything.
I'm hoping they don't.
You're good.
Yeah.
If anyone has their kids listening, it's their own fault. We'll just put it that way.
Exactly.
We'll put it out there. Yeah.
So I shouldn't mention the Tooth Fairy or the Easter Bunny.
I think once one goes down, they all go down. I think once you're like, wait, my parents have been lying to me this whole time, it's
a problem,
all out.
right?
Yeah, it's all out of the bag. Like my kids, once they figured it out, were like, "Oh my gosh!" But it wasn't a heartbreaking.
They should have been
moment.
happy because you were doing that for them. It's like you've been going out of your way all these years, giving somebody else. This is the thing I hate about Santa. Yeah. Not that I hate Santa. Don't say that. I didn't say that. But is that Santa gets the credit for all the best toys. Yeah. Like the best toys came from Santa, right?
Yeah. I mean, my middle kid figured it out when he was pretty young. And then he was a little shit because he would say, "Oh, I want this Batman glass chess set," and it was like $700. I was like, "Well, that seems pretty expensive for a gift. Santa has a lot of kids to worry about." He's like,
Yep.
"It's Santa. The elves make it. It's no cost."
Like that. It's
And I was
magic.
like, "Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, this kid."
My
is way
daughter
too
said to me,
smart.
"Is Santa real?" I said, "Well, as soon as he stops being real, you don't get anything anymore." And she says, "Oh, I see what you're doing."
It's a game. I get it.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So kind of talking about where you started, where you're at now. Like, I know you brought some things to kind of share with us, show us some of the non-tricks that you can show us or demonstrate in front of us.
That non-tricks.
Well, I don't want to have anyone assume you're a prostitute. That's what Ed said.
I might be. It's Vegas. Might be my night job.
You never know. You never know.
Yep.
Yes.
You want me to try something? Is that what you're asking?
I'd love to see it.
All right,
Because
so
I'll say, when I went to your show, I got this book. You autographed it for my son who loves magic.
Yep.
I tried some of these. I am not good at them, and I was unsuccessful. So I still needed more practice.
So take a look at those two books, if you will.
Okay.
And then when you get done, just hand me one back.
Okay, they're real books. Am I supposed to be testing them out?
You just look at them
Actually,
and check them out.
very famous books.
Yes, that's the
Yeah.
reason. These are actually, just give me one.
Oh, just one of them.
Yeah. All right, so you kept that one. So we're going to start with this one first
Okay.
of all. I'm going to go through the book like this, and what's going to happen is you're going to say stop anytime. When you say stop, you'll look at the first word at the top of the page. And you can see all the words are different, yes?
Yep.
Page number at the bottom, so I'm going to keep it closed so I don't know what page number you're at.
Sure.
Just say stop anytime.
Stop.
Look at the first word at the top of that page.
Okay.
You happy with it?
Yep.
Just see it in your mind. See it nice and big
Mhm.
right here. Actually, you'll be seeing it that way.
Okay.
So see all the letters in your word. Just concentrate on it.
Okay.
Think of any letter somewhere in the middle of your word.
Okay.
Got one?
Mhm.
I got two like you changed there for a minute. And you're thinking of a T.
I am.
You are. You could have gone with the O, but you didn't, did you? No.
Uh-huh.
You could have gone with the A, but you didn't. Starts with a P.
Mm-hmm.
Potato?
Mm-hmm.
Is that your
Yeah,
word?
that's the word.
Yeah. Let's try it again. Only let's do it a little bit different this time. I
Okay.
want you to say stop anytime.
Stop.
Okay. That's page 116.
Okay.
Turn to page 116 in that book.
Okay.
Don't let me see it.
I won't. Can you see any of this in the?
No, I'm looking down here.
Okay, good.
Look at the first word at the top of that page.
Okay.
Think of how many letters are in your word. I want what you count. Tell me when you're done.
Okay. Am I
You,
supposed to
you
tell
have it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. When I first said think, I got 5, but you actually counted and it was 6. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Just look at me.
Mm-hmm.
You look at, okay, your eyes are going down. There's a G in your word.
Yes.
It's at the end of your word, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Talk. No, it's 6 letters. Taking?
Yes.
It is taking.
Yep.
All right. I'm going to put that in front of you. One more time. Just say stop for me.
Okay. Stop.
Page 108. Turn to page 108
Okay.
in that book.
You're testing my math skills too as I'm counting letters this early in the morning. Words. Okay.
Look at the first word at the top of that page.
Mhm.
Tell everybody what it is.
Even you?
Yeah.
Watergate.
Watergate.
Uh-huh.
Before we started, I put a piece of paper over there.
Don't tell me.
You could have chosen any word at all, right?
Okay.
Take a look and open it up. What does it say?
Watergate.
So,
On the show, you're going to tell us how you did it, right?
no.
Oh, come on.
Why would I
Are
do
there
that?
other sheets of paper somewhere?
There was one sheet out in the open the whole time.
Okay.
If there were other sheets, they would be hidden. You
I
wouldn't see
know.
them. You'd say, what was this sheet? And why is that sheet in front of me?
Falling out of your sleeves.
This might be a little harder to do just because, here, let's see. Let's try this. Here,
Okay.
take one of these.
Okay.
All right. So what's going to happen is you're going to do this, okay? We're going
Okay.
to try you're going to try, okay?
I'm going to try. I mean, I told you I tried your
do it to that
ones in the
camera.
book.
Which camera you want me to do it to? Here we go. Look, the tine right there.
Mm-hmm.
Here, take my fork. I'll take
Okay.
yours. Just give it a try. Just shake it. Think that it was.
And I have to think that
You
I'm
have to think it.
bending it. Okay.
Well,
It's
you
like
do it
you,
like this.
it's
Yeah,
like you
just
as a
do it
child
like this.
back
Do
in
it
the
like
day.
this. Watch me. See. Look.
I'm trying so hard.
Nothing happening.
I don't have as strong of a mind as
Ah.
you.
Yeah, let's try one more. All right.
Okay.
So this one's going to be something that's physically impossible to do. I want you to
Okay.
look above my thumb and forefinger
Mhm.
right there. Right?
Okay.
Watch. And this is the kind of things that guy I was telling you about was doing. There we go. It's starting to twist.
Mm-hmm.
Try to untwist that. You can't, no matter how hard you try.
But I've been working out at the gym. Okay, yeah, it's not gonna work.
Yeah. Hold your
Are
hand
these
out.
from that
Hold your hand
cafeteria?
out. These are from Denny's. Hold out your hand.
You're
Either
gonna get
hand.
in trouble
Let's
with
see how
this.
we can do this right here.
You're gonna get in trouble
You
with
probably want to.
Denny's.
Let's use the other hand because
Okay.
the camera's on that side. All right. So
Okay.
that's gonna go there. Close your hand on it.
Okay.
Hold it tight. All right. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to. I'm gonna have to move this mic just a wee bit.
Mhm.
And let's move.
I can get closer too.
Let's move the Coke out of the way. All right. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to close your eyes.
Okay.
And I want you to concentrate on it.
Mhm.
In a second, you're going to feel something. It's going to be really, really slight. Hardly at all, almost like a pulsing, a pushing. Anything yet?
No, I feel the fork poking my palm.
Okay. So it's pushing against you, is what you're saying. Okay, that's good. Hold it. Okay, hold it tight. So you can actually feel it pushing against your hand in there. Okay, good. It's going to become soft like plastic. Hold it tight. I am barely touching that. Can you feel that?
Mm-hmm.
Keep your eyes closed.
Mhm.
It's just soft like plastic, yeah?
Mhm.
I mean, that's, I tell you what, let go. Cup your hands out like that. Let's see if we can get this to go straight. Now we're going to melt it with your mind. Ready?
Mm-hmm. So what kind of metal is this? Like I watched Joe.
That
Rogan
is
ask you this,
that's a
and he's
regular
like,
fork. If you had forks here, I could do it. It's the same thing.
I know on the
Yeah.
Joe Rogan show you had said if I had really fancy metal forks, I wouldn't want to give it to you afterwards. This is from Denny's.
Yeah, but when I did for the sign, no, they're not. They're not from Denny's. I bought those in bulk. But if you go to any show that I do, I tell people to bring silverware, and I use their silverware during the show. Now here at the Strat, I don't do that. I do a small piece of metal bending with a kid, but that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's for real.
Yep. You can keep that one, and you can keep
the
those.
twisted one.
Yeah. If there were special forks, I wouldn't give them to you.
It's crazy.
So it would cost a fortune.
Okay, so you went from thinking you could bend metal and then feeling like it was a hoax from your family members or authority figures telling you could, to now actually bending metal.
To actually going out and doing it in the laboratory with their silverware, by the way, not trick forks, their silverware, yes, in a lab under scientific controls. These are the kind of things that we did.
Yeah, and you can't tell us any of how you do this.
No, I cannot. I mean, I could. Here's the problem with that, right? A lot of people said after the hoax, they said, why don't you teach? Because scientists have lamented for years there's no evidence of ESP under proper scientific protocol.
Sure.
And it was my contention, had nothing to do with that. It had to do with their biases getting in the way. In other words, they believed that this stuff was real. So they were basically trying to document what they already believed in and not using proper science. And we were able to show that was the case. Also, they had PhDs. They thought they were too smart to be fooled. And that's the problem with many people that are educated. They don't realize what they're not educated in. And so they think they're educated in this area. They're really super smart. And they are super smart, a rocket scientist. But even a rocket scientist can be fooled by this stuff. I mean, this was an astrophysicist. This was a physicist that was being fooled by me and Mike back in the day.
Yeah.
And not just a physicist. There were psychologists. There were a host of academics that were being basically fooled by us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you keep things exciting? Because I know your past and your history, right? Like, and you have shows, and you know, people who come to those shows see these marvelous things. Like, again, I'm trying my hardest not to say tricks. So they see these marvelous things and demonstrations, and but like, how do you keep it exciting? Because like what one of your most well-known tricks when you buried yourself?
Yes, I was buried alive. Basically, they get chained, handcuffed, locked in a glass coffin, lowered 9 feet in the ground. Men with bulldozers and shovels come in, they fill up the hole, and I have to escape. And I've been asked to do it in 15 minutes. I've been asked to do it in an hour. So I've done both. Yeah.
And how do you have like a safety protocol? Like, is there like a button or is there something?
It's a dangerous. No, I don't. It's a dangerous stunt. Usually, they can see something's wrong from the outside. Either it would be you're not getting out quick enough, or everything collapses. There's been a few people that have tried to emulate me, and they've perished. They failed. If you go online, take a look. There's a guy by the name of Joe Burris. Joe Burris did it, and then he put this much cement up on top, and you just see the whole cement collapse, and he's killed.
Sure.
So yeah, it's a dangerous stunt. I've almost been killed twice doing the buried alive, But luckily, I don't panic and I take precautions.
Okay. And so what now, like, or what would you say, is that your favorite stunt you've ever done? Or what's your favorite? I know you did the knife one with the bags or envelopes.
I don't use bags or envelopes. I use envelopes.
The
I do use
envelopes with
envelopes.
the knife, yeah.
But there's a different version out there. People using bags. If you see any
Sure.
mentalists working today, they're usually using one or two of my methods. I have multiple books out, 9 award-winning books out for the Mentalist, the magic community.
Sure.
And you have to know where to find those, though. So
because you've trained, like, when you said, I think Chris Angel, or
Chris Angel,
a couple of theirs.
First 3 seasons, I wrote most of the magic with him and
Okay.
taught it to him. David Blaine opened his second TV special with one of my effects. Copperfield's called for consultation. And so, I've worked with the best guys in the business. And that's really my forte, depending how you want to say it, is creating, thinking outside the box. If you tell me you want to do something, I can come up with 3 or 4 methods. And that's the problem with the scientists. As we were saying earlier, I didn't finish that sentence. I forgot. I went off on a tangent. But they would say, why don't you teach the scientists? And I would be like, simply because I've got 3 or 4 ways to do it. If I teach them one method, then they're going to think that that's how it's done.
Sure.
When somebody else comes along and does it a completely different way, they're going to think it's real.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what, out of all of the ones that you've taught or learned or showed everyone to, or your audiences, what's your favorite?
I don't have a favorite. They're all my babies. This is a question people always ask me, what's your favorite? And it's been a frustrating question all my life. Let me tell you why. Because even when I was a kid, I didn't have a favorite color. And people say, what's your favorite color?
Yeah.
I don't have one. I don't have favorites. I like blue on Tuesdays. I like green on Wednesdays, So I finally—
Kind of mood based.
Yeah. It's like music. If you look at all my music, it's so eclectic. It's everywhere from classical to heavy metal and everything in between, right? And everything outside of that as well. Because there's some bizarre stuff I listen to too. But when I was young, I decided, okay, I gotta have a favorite color. Oh my God, I gotta have a favorite color. I don't want to stick out, because I was shy, I don't want to stick out. So I had orange. So I bought orange shoes, orange pants, orange shirt. I really stuck out. And then I was like, and then I go, this is just fucking stupid. Like, I can't do this, It's like, yeah. So I just don't have favorites, Maybe food. Maybe I have a favorite food, prime rib, but that's maybe my only favorite in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. So orange is not your favorite color.
Orange is not my favorite color.
Okay.
No.
And you went from not wanting to stand out and being shy to now being on stage.
No, when I was like I said, when in high school, I had 3 jobs. I was shy. I was a kid in the back of the classroom with a heavy coat on in the middle of summer, even afraid the teacher was going to call on me. If she did, I turned bright red. And I never really had a home. But starting to perform like this, whether it's in the school cafeteria, whether it's, on a big stage, that became my home. I was more comfortable on stage than I was in social environments to people. I don't think of the stage as a social environment. For me, it's my home. And so that was my way of actually finally coming out, finally being able to be myself. Yeah.
Wow, that's a very nice story though too. A really nice way to think about it.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of psychology in almost every aspect of even my name, Banachek, as you know, I had to show you my ID because
I made
"What's
you
your
prove
name?"
it to me.
Yeah, because I only have one name, Banachek, and it causes me problems. I was at the pharmacy yesterday for about 3 hours trying to get a prescription because they couldn't figure out how to put it. And you put unknown, but then it says, oh, it's unknown. It recognized unknown, but doesn't recognize NLN, which is no last name, or NFN, no first name.
Well, there's only a few of you in the world, right? There was Prince, it was Madonna. There's not many who
Teller
just have.
has one name.
Okay.
I don't know if Madonna on her ID has.
I have not had a chance to check Madonna's ID. I've only had a chance to check yours.
You should check it out next time. Next time you're out.
Madonna, can you please show us
next
your
time
ID?
you're out with D, just ask us, say, hey, can I see your ID?
Yeah.
So I don't.
We don't run in the same social circles, but I'm gonna try to figure it out.
Yeah, you run in the higher circles.
Yeah.
I know.
Much higher than Madonna.
I've heard.
For sure.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, the reason Banachek was taken, again, that's psychological. It was because I did some shows, and my name used to be Stephen Shaw, or Steve Shaw. I used to go by. And I did a corporate gig, and I gave him my introduction. And he said, oh, can I do my own introduction? Because I've seen you perform before. I want to talk about it and a few other things.
Yeah.
So he gets up there. Oh, he's been on Today's Show. He's done CNN Live. He's done this, and this. Please welcome Steve. Oh, what was the last name again? Couldn't remember my last name. I did a show later that week. And same thing. I'm there, and the guy says he wants to do his own introduction. I said, okay, but the last guy forgot my. Oh no, I got your name, Steve Shaw. No problem, I won't do that. He gets up there, does all this stuff about me, and then forgets my whole name. What was the name? Couldn't think of the whole name. Happened to me a 3rd time that week, and I said, boy, why is this happening? Got to figure it out. And I realized what it was is Steve and Shaw are such soft syllables, right? There's such soft syllables that they don't even think about it. And Steve and Shaw are common names, so they don't think about it as well. So I wanted something that had a mnemonic, something that these old guys, the CEOs of the companies, would remember, and the younger guys would have to ask how you pronounce it, and something that had at least 2 hard syllables in it so it catches in the brain. And there was a TV show called Banachek, Banachek. It's the Polish spelling of it.
Okay.
It was an insurance detective played by George Papard. And it was sort of magic-y in a way because it'd be like they would put a statue on a truck, cover it up. That would be locked up. It would leave from New York. It would get to L.A. And by the time it got to L.A., it had disappeared and the lock hadn't been broken and the truck hadn't been broken into. Where did it go? And it turns out, well, somebody had made a statue out of ice and it melted on the way by the time, and they switched it out and it melted by the time it got there. So I like that. And it worked. I mean, the old guys remember the TV show Banachek, made fun of my name, and that was okay. I was fun with, I was absolutely fine with that because I remembered the name. But then they remember and attach it to me afterwards. And the younger guys always like, well, how do you pronounce that? And that was one of the reasons I spelt it the way I did, Banachek instead of C-E-K. Banachek would have been the other one. They would have got it wrong. Yeah. And if I put an extra C in there, it would be Banachek, but spelt like a check. So I knew they would say like bounce a check or something stupid like that. And I didn't want that. So
yeah, it's very, I think probably one of the hardest things to probably come up with your own name when you're reinventing yourself later, right? Yeah.
Once you have it, you have it. You're stuck with it. And the Prince story is a little bit different because Prince was getting screwed over by record companies. Sure. And that was a big FU to him, to the record companies, when he said, I'm just going to take a symbol. Steal that. Yeah. So, yeah.
So maybe that's the next stage, is that you'll just become a symbol.
No.
Yes. Well, you're a symbol of excellence, and especially when you're driving experiences for people in your audiences, when I'm sure everyone who's watching the show is going to be wowed and come right down to Vegas to watch your show, because if you can see these couple things that you've done, I was blown away. So was the entire group we were with. That just unbelievable. It still hurts my brain because I like to figure things out. I'm very analytical, but when I can't figure things out, it bothers me. So I've tried. I've watched the videos. I'm like, how does he was, and I was trying to be concise earlier, but when you had 2 people in a chair, I'll explain it more. When you had 2 people in a chair and you had one that you were touching on the shoulder very appropriately, and then the other person was in the other chair.
Wait, can I ask you a question? How do you not touch somebody appropriately on the shoulder?
I'm just being very clear, because earlier I said you were touching that girl, and then I was like, well, that didn't sound right. But and then she was not being touched, and she felt like she felt
everything I was doing to him.
Yeah. And
appropriate things I was doing.
all appropriate things. But I watched back the video, and I'm still like blown away. And Bridget was still, she's like the cutest ever too. But
yeah,
I was like, can't believe it. So,
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yep.
So thank you for being on the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. And is there any last tips or words of advice you'd give anyone that you wish your younger self had, other than maybe not listening to authorities all the time?
Yeah. Boundaries. Always put boundaries. I never had boundaries, and so I got taken advantage of a lot because I would do anything for everybody, and I would sacrifice myself. Have boundaries. Don't always sacrifice yourself. Just be healthy and take care of people, take care of your friends, do things for them, but have boundaries. Take care of you first.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. It's going to be very different from what we usually have, and I think it will be a nice, refreshing change for everyone.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Huge shout out to Brittany Kelly and Carly Carolla at FW Rentals in lovely Las Vegas, Nevada for their support in custom logo work. FW Rental provides rental and custom build-out solutions for all of your event and production needs. We love you, Brittany and Carly. Learn more at fwrental.com. That's fwrental.com. And that's our show. CX&Chill is a production of EXO Studios, the creative marketing arm of XtendOps, with today's host, Stephanie Todd, executive producer Sean McCreary, producers David Spear, Clarissa Coronado, and Memo Davalos, editors and videographers Santiago Aguirre, Alfonso Ramirez, graphic support from Jordan Madrid, and social media guru Claudia Corona.